All right, so we're back here with round three. This is versus Zoro, fairly prominent player, I believe. They go. I believe I won the die roll, and I decided to go second. They might have also just won, but they play Ezo, and they add Marco. Yeah, the one of. So that was like great start for them. Because he typically tends to stick around, and I'm not playing the regular removal. He doesn't know that. But it is slightly more difficult for me to remove. So I'm going to go ahead and play one. So nice, I'll do it twice. Play an Ezo. Look at my top 5. See what I can get. And here I really want a Marco. Like, I'm really just searching for Marcos. Because Marco's so powerful in this matchup. And if I don't control their board, they can really run away with it. I believe I grabbed an Atmos was what I ended up getting. Yeah. And then, so that's going to be my next turn play. I go ahead and pass. Now they can go 5-5 if they want. I really hope they do not. They go ahead and play a buggy. Again, like, pretty strong. Fairly typical. I imagine he had the buggy first, but they wanted to play down the Ezo. They grab a guard point, so that's great to know. The biggest advantage that you can have while playing a game is making sure you remember the opponent's cards. And I actually forgot one of the cards that they add here. I go ahead and take it. And then no trigger. And they play a Gordon. Now here when they drop down this Gordon, they know I just searched an Atmos. And I'm like, well, I don't want him to get Marcoed and me just lose value. They have 6 cards in hand. 5 cards in hand. And so I want to keep track of that, obviously, know where I'm at and where they're at. And I want to make sure I can put a big difference in between those. So I'm just thinking, what do I want to do knowing that there's an Atmos? Go ahead and punch 5. They take it. Now, here's where it's super interesting, and I believe I could have played differently, is I'm going to go ahead. I debate on swinging 3. I debate on swinging 5, but I don't think I do. I think I should have. But I wanted to keep, because like if I swing, then it's just easy for him to clean up mine, and I want to use mine to clean up his. And again, I'm just afraid of this Gordon just going Gordon and then hitting me. I'm a Seaquake the Gordon. And so I just pass. And I don't believe I have a Red Hawk either. So like I could have just attacked. But I wanted to preserve the body. And at the end of the day, I don't know if that was correct. And so now they're just going to go all in, right? Makes sense. Gonna smack me for 5. I believe I just take most of these. And this is where I'm like, oof. I buffed my leader, so now he's gonna have to use that last on because he does have that guard point. And they're going 6, and just in the hope that they didn't. But then this way I can also just use my 2Ks as 1 case, or my 1 case as 2 case. And they go this, and I just have to counter out of this. I can't put myself in that position just yet. I give them the Atmos, because I'm going to play, I should have a Marco at this point. I'm going to play a Marco. But yeah, I could have just put an extra attack on board, kept an attack off of me, and that probably would have been the most value. Yeah, I can just like clean it up. But he also could have just gave me a 1K, which would have been crazy. I believe I play now. I go 5 at face, and then we go ahead and play down this Marco. 6 at face. You take it, and then so there are 8 cards in hand. I'll play a Marco and pop. The crazy thing about Zoro is Zoro sometimes will just like not have a lot of combo in hand. So even though they have like a ton of cards, they could possibly have like no combo, no counter, and they're going into their potential. Their 7 Dawn turn, no characters active. They could go 6-7 with a rushed Luffy easy. Even 7-7. Yeah, he goes ahead and goes. I got super lucky here, truthfully, that they didn't have Marco, because that would have been a pain for me to deal with. Really debating on what they want to do. I'm just gonna look at my hand. Hey, I have like 7 cards, maybe 8. I feel like I should have a lot because I took 3 life. Six in my face. Do I take it? I think at this point here, I just decide I should guard and not go below this 2 point if I can, and just control his board because I do have another Marco. And they go ahead, play a Rush Zoro, and they go 7. And I take it. No point in me comboing out of that. And they play another Gordon. It's like, well, that's phenomenal. So we'll go ahead. It's our 8 Dawn turn. If we drop down a ace, it's a huge turn for us because then the Machina or the Izo can swing on the Zoro, and we can go 5, 6, 7 at face, or even 5, 7, 7 if we want. Which will really put us in a good spot. You can also Flame Emperor and just try to put him down the 1. We're gonna swing and fish. Maybe? Thinking maybe there is the ace and we just go ahead and smack him down first. Maybe it's just another. Maybe we're gonna just go 7 at the Zoro, see if he lets us have it. Then we place down to Marco, pop the Gordon, and then hit 7 for face. Play Otama and minus it. Then maybe just play another. Oh, swing on it with the Izo for 3. Maybe we smack down a Thatch. I did give up 2k counter for that play. 5 at lead. You always go like lower and then work your way to high in case they don't have counter. Maybe we get a 2k. His hand's been pretty healthy the whole time. He takes it. Now he's in Flame Emperor range too, which is something to think about. We're going to go 6. We get 2k, so that's nice. And we're going to play a Luffy, a Rush Luffy. Smack him for 6. Build that board while also putting on pressure. We get a Machino. We'd love to see those from Zoro, because those are really how they can like do big pushes for games. So he's back to 6 cards. 2 life, and again, still within that. We know he has blocker Marco. We know he has guard point, but still, like, you know, we swing 6, get that 2k instead of that guard point, but put him in that Flame Emperor range going into our 10 Dawn turn. 1 Dawn active. I'm not sure if I had an event, but I'm going to assume I did. He does have the Gordon, and he can make the Gordon swing, potentially minus one of my characters, probably just the Luffy. But we did get a ton of value out of that Luffy. So they're going 6 hit lead. I believe we just counter this. We don't want to go down to the just direct attack to our face and just go all in. I believe I had an Otama and a Machino in hand. I was just really debating on what I want to give him. And then it's probably just Otama in the end because, like, I don't need the minus anything to hit him. Oh, it's a Machino. Interesting. Because, yeah, normally I like to hold on to the Machinos if I can. Just because Machino does really just bring you there. And then, of course, in my round 2, I was able to win because of Machino. Play Buggy. They get a Diable, and then this is where I forget at the end of this match. I straight up just forgot that they had this. When they had, like, it was I was also afraid of this, which also just in my head tells me I just can't go to 1 because then there's 14 coming at my face. And we don't want that. And that's also the beauty of this. Is that, like, I believe I have another Marco, and they play their Marco, leave 3 up, and they pass. So probably have a Red Hawk. There's no way they just have like 3 guard points, right? They might have had 3 guard points. We'll see. I'm at 10 Don, plenty of Don to work with. Big board. But yeah, I believe I could go 7-7-7 and play down a Marco, pop the buggy. And just really apply some pressure here. If I want to play around an event, I can, of course, like, go up higher, but see, really just taking the time to think, it's okay to just make sure you know what you're doing, because there have been a couple instances where I believe I've misplayed in these events. So we're going to go ahead, fish that 7. See, do we get the guard point? What do they want to do? Because we can still also hit him with the Flame Emperor, pop, and put him to 0. So yeah, we get a guard point. We're going to probably poke another 7. Maybe even if I get spicy, I could swing 5 with the ESO. Just that way, if there is a Red Hawk, I get the full value from it. We're just going to go ahead and swing 7 again. See if it's 3 guard point. They take it. Interesting. I could also possibly have another Rush Luffy and just smack down an unblockable one. Looked like I might have been trying to go for that Flame Emperor there. Still just pop that, eat a card out of their hand, and then force an attack on them. So then they either go to 0 while I have unblockable Luffy, or they have to give up some of that sweet hand. And we're just, I've been at 1, now they're down to 1, so. Difference is I have that unblockable Luffy already established. I'm going to go 6, 7, 7. See if we get that Marco. Yeah, makes sense. It'd probably give me a Jozu or something. Maybe even a Fire Fist. I think they gave me Fire Fist. Makes sense. I mean, like, you don't get a ton of value without a subtraction on, like, 2 of my characters with the way the deck is currently played. And we go ahead, since we saw that Fire Fist get discarded, either they have another one or that they just don't want to use it. And so now I feel safe playing down that Fosa. I've got 4 Dawn active. I believe I do have 2 Red Hawks. I'm going to Red Hawk their board. I might also have, like, Red Hawk guard point. But if I have Red Hawk, it's going to be devastating. Yeah, go ahead and Dawn up now just to avoid that. I believe it's also going to put some on the Gordon. Probably thinking about it right now because I did leave 4 active, which is a lot of Dawn to leave active, which pretty much if somebody leaves 4 active, it probably means that they have Red Hawks. And if I resolve it, it is, of course, going to hurt. Especially on, like, a 6K swing, you just lose a swing altogether. The buggy's safe now. It could also be like Crossfire and Red Hawk if you're playing against Ace, but in this instance I don't play Crossfire. So, let's see. He goes ahead and plays another Gordon. Gonna go ahead and minus and put it on the Luffy, I believe. And he's gonna swing, he swings 3 into the Luffy. Easy. I think we just give him a 1K. And then I think he, like, learns here because that's just worth saving. Maybe I didn't have a Red Hawk. Because I feel like I should just play it Red Hawk that Gordon, and then I'm going to be in a great spot because then he can't bounce back in minus. But I think he bounces back in minuses again. Yeah, go ahead and give him the 1K, the Thatch. It's too late for me to probably try to establish that. And so now they go 6 at the Luffy. 6 and the 3. I go ahead and block. Just because that Luffy's going to be so strong. If I put them to 0, and he's got... It pretty much forces him to, like, use the blocker. Go ahead and play the Don. Might not have considered the blocker either. Get a Makino. Makino's big. He's got 5 cards in hand. We've been slowly eating it away. We've got 4 cards in hand. We've got such a stronger board. And his cards are turned sideways, so I can just easily clean those up. Goes ahead and does the Gordon. Might have been more value to do that first. Again, not sure why I left 4 Dawn up. Because that could have been an attack with the Izo. 7 at the Luffy. Luffy's at 0. Yeah, we just gotta let that go. I just bluffed. Big bluff. I have no idea. This game was intense though. I remember like once it was over, I was so like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that that's over. Yeah, I think I just Dawn up 1, swing at Buggy with Izo. I think that just makes the most sense. Perhaps we have another Marco and we play down the Marco. It's also possible we have another Luffy. Oh, I believe I saw my Marco in this matchup too. Again, don't be afraid to like take your time to think things through. I could also just Flame Emperor and go 7, 9. And really just push out that hand. Anticipating a guard point, I just go ahead and go 8. So I eat 2 cards. Or it forces out the block. They go ahead and they had the 1 of Radical Beam. Always get you. If they have it, they have it. Same thing when like they leave 3 Dawn up and then you go 8 anticipating guard point and they hit you with the Red Hawk. So I'm gonna go ahead, poke 3 at that Buggy. Yeah, 3 at Buggy. And then, you know, I can either eat a 1k and then I'll go at it with the 5. But this should put him down to 3 cards in hand, so we really want to try to eat that up before we, of course, go for that life. He could also take the free block with the blocker, but then, like, all my attacks are going to his face. And it is possible, of course, that, like, I have a rusher. Yeah, he goes ahead and gives me a 2k to protect the Buggy. 3 cards in hand, which really tells me a lot. And it also, again, just eating that Makino is huge value. So for 1 Dawn, I got rid of a Makino. That could make that Buggy a 7k swing for 2 Dawn. 3 if you count Zoro. So now I'm going to go ahead, go 5 at lead because they're giving me 2ks. They're going to block, probably use an event. Oh, they block and use Makino. Two cards in hand. I believe I smacked down a rusher. Like at this point, if I can play an unblockable Luffy and poke, they go to 0, and I can defend mine, they'll just lose. It's also why I miss like Rush Zoro kinda, because like Rush Zoro is such value. I go ahead and go 3 with Otama into the Buggy. Since there's no free block, we get another Makino. Again, just taking that free value. It makes sense because if the Buggy wasn't there, there'd be no value. We go ahead and play the Fosa again. 4 cards in hand and pass. They have 2 cards. One of them, obviously, we know is Diable. At that time, I did not remember that it was Diable. And then so essentially they have to try to go for game here because they have 2 cards in hand. Or to like, they go 6 at my face. Gonna go ahead. Because yeah, I mean they technically have the Marco and he's a swinger. I go ahead and give him a mock, you know. He's gonna go ahead, go 6 again, I guess betting that I don't have 2Ks. But I do. Gonna go ahead, do the 2K. I could also take it, just try bait it, but like we gotta think about that big Zoro attack that could be coming. I go ahead and guard point it because we still have the block. He still has Diable, but I still have 1 life. And then if they swing with the Marco, it's just over. So now I imagine they're just trying to see lines, see if there's any way where, like, because they have to connect twice, I can stop 1. So it's like, do they have another way for another attack? Do they have another Rush Zoro? Because we know one of them's Diable. So they have 1 card that's potentially playable. Really just trying to see, you know, is there a way out? Do they have another blocker? With 1 card in hand, if they play a small blocker and I just play a Marco, I can push for it. Now, of course, if that card in their life is Fiery Doll, it does make things a little more difficult. Just because they can minus something by 10,000, so they could like minus my lead. However, I still have about 3 swingers, 4 if I leave Fosa, because I can just go 3 Dawn on Fosa, 3 Dawn on Izo, and that's 5/5. If they counter out a 1, they have to take the other, and then I have a 5 at face, and then the rest with Marco, or like split up the remaining 4 Dawn. I could go 7/8. However, mathematically, either way, I should win. And so, like, they're just sitting there, of course, like, trying to see, you know, is there a way? Do they have that 3rd attack? Are the cards in my hand counter? Do they have it? You know, like, that is always the question. They have 2 cards. What are the odds both of them are counter? What swings do I make? Because they could go 6. I think they swing it into Izo here at this point, realizing that they probably would just want to clear those swingers off my board. And at this point, I question, do I Fosa? And then it's like, Izo and Fosa are the same thing unless I have Makino. Makino does matter. I'm just really trying to think, does it matter? Do I want to bait that last swing? Like, what could they have? What could they have? I don't know. I don't remember. Let's see what happens. Yeah, you just gotta let it go. I mean, 6, and they play that Marco, pop the Fosa, and then so 1 card in hand, and then if it's not Fiery Doll, like I still have 1. So here, Eggman just popped in for a sec. I didn't have the show non-participants. I imagine they were looking for another game to stream. And then so we're gonna go ahead, restand, just go quick 7 poke with the Marco, just makes sense. Cause, and see, had I known that they had that card in hand, I could have just gone 5 with my lead, knowing that they haven't played it. And so they either block or he goes away. Cause I could, of course, don up the Otama. Of course, removing that Fosa was big because I could bump up the Fosa. I could also just play an ace minus and then go 5, 7, 7. But because they do have the blocker, but again, like I go, my first swing is 7, knowing that they have Diable in hand, which was my bad. Had I remembered that for that long, I would have known that that was in their hand. I'm just sitting here thinking, like, is it a 7 swing? No Dawn active. We got a guard point earlier. And I'm just, I'm not realizing that card is their Diable. Actually, when they had played the second buggy, I realized they had searched the guard point. And I think that's one of the small differences. I don't know if it's easier IRL or in the online events to remember your opponent's hand. I do a good job in person, but of course, sometimes you just forget. Especially if they do like a lot of searching like Zoro can do. They'd be like, oh, but yeah, if you can remember those cards and when they were used, like Rebecca and things like that, it can give you a decent idea. Or even Law, especially Law, once they start shambling, if you remember, you pretty much will see their entire hand. I just asked to look at their trash. All 4 Makinos are in there, a ton of 2Ks. So the Otama, so 5 2Ks, because I'm just like, what could they have? Try to get a good idea. Is it Fiery Doll? Because Fiery Doll does minus 10,000 to any character. And here we go. We're going with the 1 Dawn just on there when I did not have to do it. So yeah, we're going to go ahead, go 7. I believe we just do 7 again. Maybe not. I know I'm swinging 7 though. But I could have swung less and had just a little bit more Dawn if I remembered. So like that's value right there. I could have also just swung with leader. I of course can use the leader ability, which is great. But yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead, use the 1 Dawn, go 7, see if they take it. If they do, I can also smack down unblockable Luffy and just go all in. And not have to like tiptoe around. But I could have gone 5 with Otama. They would have had to take or block. And then I would have 5 Dawn to work with. If they take it, goes 7. And they would have had to block or take. And then afterwards I could swing in. So they go ahead, take it. I just go ahead, smack down the Luffy. And then 10 for GG's. But yeah, there are other lines that I could take had I not had the rushed Luffy. But yeah, if I remembered the Diable, it would have made it a lot easier had I not had the Luffy. And then just banking that the last card wasn't Fiery Doll or a Red Hawk.